Good morning. My name's Stephan Roman. I'm the president and CEO of Global Atomic, and lovely to be here with you, Matthew, and sunny Cape Town.
It's good to see you. You know,
It is.
it's nice to get out and about, and you're out and about in the continent of Africa. So down here in Cape Town at the moment, you're here to see a few people. How's the conference been?
Conference has been jammed.
It's a zoo out there.
It's a zoo. It's like over 8,000 people here at the conference. We've had some back-to-back meetings.
Yeah.
And I just got back from Niger, so effectively I've been there for the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Finished my trip in Niger and came to Cape Town. So I've been on the road here for a month.
Yeah.
And it's been very productive.
Taking care of business in Niger.
Absolutely.
And taking care of business down here. Okay. So I'm sure you're meeting all the usual suspects, and you know, and I think a lot of the ministers are down here as well, aren't they, from the various governments as well? So real business happens down here in Cape Town for sure.
Absolutely.
I think we can talk about the macro, but I think it's kind of been done to death. We know it's fantastic, and we did that at the end. I'm interested in operations. What's happening on the ground with you guys at the moment?
Okay, well, that's a good point. I was underground last week, so we're down at the ore zone. I've actually saw the ore, and it's looking good. The ramp we're probably 800 meters now, and starting to develop on ore. So that process is going very well. We've got 275 people on site right now. We've got a big camp expansion happening, so in the next few months we'll have that probably up to about 500 people.
Okay.
Earthworks, we're just letting the contract on that, so we're going to start that here in probably the next few weeks, as soon as all the equipment arrives. And so that's the first phase of getting the plant built, is get the earthworks done here over the next few months, and then the civils come in. So.
Right.
Civil contracts now are under review for award.
Yeah.
Long lead items have all been ordered. They're in fabrication right now. So I would say probably by Q4, you're going to start having the equipment arriving for the plant.
Okay.
So by then you'll have earthworks done, civils done, and the plant materials arriving. So,
right.
And of course, during the build-out process, the employment will go up to probably in the neighborhood of 700 to 800 people there on site. So it's a big project, definitely the biggest one ongoing in Niger right now.
Yeah.
It's got very high visibility, both on the side of the Niger government, but also other players like the U.S. government. Of course, it's got a big interest in Niger. I had a very good meeting with the new U.S. ambassador there.
Yeah.
Kathleen Fitzgibbon, and she's very excited about the project. Of course, we're getting financing from the U.S. as well as Canada, and that project now is expected to go to credit committee this month. We were talking about January, but it's probably going to be February going to credit committee, and then final board approval in probably April.
And what sort of credit are we talking about?
This is the 60-40 debt equity deal.
Okay.
So, we've been financing everything with equity at the moment. So our component will be 40% of the project. Let's say round numbers, 400 million U.S. project. That includes your working capital, interest that the banks charge, cost overrun facility, the whole thing.
Okay.
So, so we have to pay, of course, 40% of that, and the banks pay 60%.
Okay. Well, let's get into the weeds here a bit, because share price been erratic because
volatile.
Okay,
erratic.
Volatile. It's semantics, but yes. You've had everything thrown at you, force majeure and man-made. We've had earthquakes. We had coups, and you are getting on. What I've just heard from you, this is real. This is happening on the ground. Where we're 270 plus people moving up to 500, moving up to 800. It's real. You're getting on with this, okay? So I think, and it's kind of refreshing after talking to lots of exploration companies all the time, especially the new ones who are just starting out on a journey. to kind of feel that something's actually getting built, right? But what I want to know is that how it gets over the line, okay? Because I know what you're doing. You talked about the civils coming in, etc. But it needs money to do that. So with regards to, and that's been a journey for you because of all the things thrown at you from the side, curveballs. You've raised a bunch of money now. You talking about the credit facility, which is great. You are going to need to raise this, 40% contribution in some way, shape, or form. Can we talk about the mix there and what's available to you? Does Turkey help contribute towards that anytime soon, either by selling that for selling that annuity stream or cash coming on, or do we need to just look at the equities market? How simple is it, or how complicated is it?
So what I've obviously been preaching over the last couple of years is that we try to keep dilution to a minimum. That's still the mantra we have. So, we've got 3 contracts now with big utilities. We have a number of others in the wings that we're working with right now. We still have prepayment options on the table.
Okay.
So I've received a couple of those. Sometimes the terms are a little bit onerous. We don't want to do things with onerous terms. So, we're working on that angle still with a couple of groups that are interested in that. Of course, with the uranium market very tight, there's new players in that space, and there's even financial players that just want to secure some supply.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of broadened the market a little bit for prepayments. You don't have to always get them from a utility. Sometimes you get them from other players.
Yeah.
So, these are things that we're looking at. We'd like to keep the dilution to a minimum, but I'll tell you that even with that capital requirement that we have, we've already spent at least half of that. So I still think that the delta that we have to cover is going to be in the 50 to 75 million US range. Okay. Which, if you get a couple of prepayments for 25 million each, there's 50 million that you don't have to raise in the market.
Yeah.
So you know what? We're still moving forward. We got a bunch of catalysts here we'd like to get over the line. So one of them, and it's very important, is the updated feasibility study. So that should be coming out this month, in February.
Okay.
And of course, that includes all the drilling that we did, 16,000 meters.
Yeah.
That's going to, of course, increase the mine life and have an impact on the overall NPV and IRR.
Okay.
Of course, when we did our feasibility that came out in 2021, we were using $35 a pound.
Yeah.
So now, of course, we've upped that price because 35 is not realistic anymore. I mean, our contracts are obviously well above that. And so we're going to use a different number for the new feasibility, but also include an upgraded mineable reserve.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think people mind, well, I hope, if they're anyway intelligent, shouldn't mind about whether the costs have gone up. Of course they have. It's a new reality in mining. It's the margin. It's about how much money you make. And obviously, in a very tight market and tightening market, and we'll come on to this in a second in terms of who gets into production, where the hell this supply is coming from, that margin and that gap between what it costs and what you're going to get is going to increase. We've not seen term contracts catch up with spot. People are getting excited about spot, right? And if you're a kind of company that wants to just sell it in the spot market, well, that's great. Maybe some lessons to be learned from the previous cycle, but maybe people feeling a bit braver now because it's a slightly different market. With the contracts that you were looking at, I mean, they've obviously got, they've kind of got bells and whistles attached to them in terms of the flexibility there. Will it restrict, or how much does it restrict your ability to make that margin as the price goes up?
Okay, so that's a good question. The first point is that we had to get a minimum amount contracted to keep the banks happy.
Yep.
Because they have to know they're going to get their money back. So the first 2 contracts are a blended price. Base case, midterm, long-term. So right now they'd probably be close to the $80 range. The last contract is floating.
Okay.
So it'll capture spot.
Okay.
So the idea is in a balanced portfolio of uranium sales, you want to have a little bit of a mix.
Yeah.
And then you don't get caught off guard.
Right. Okay.
So that's what we've been working on. That's our strategy, is to have a blended portfolio.
Right. Okay. And then when you kind of layer in the kind of forward sale component,
That's it.
I'd say it's a much more dynamic space, the forward sale thing. I think, perhaps it was a buyer's market, and now it's, I think, very much a seller's market. In the context of what we just mentioned, I alluded to, is the fact that there ain't too many new producers coming online anytime soon. You seem to be the most advanced. That you're doing the earthworks, you're getting the civils, you got people on the ground. Does that help you in your discussion? The fact that
Well, I'll tell you that we are the only greenfields uranium project right now in the world.
one, I love it.
One. Yeah. The others are restarts typically, which is fine. I mean,
But even they're having problems, right?
Sure. Well, there's big problems because for plus 1 decade, nobody was in the uranium space. A lot of talent has gotten old and left the business, and there's just no people and no expertise. So, people have asked Cameco, why don't you expand your production? You got lots of uranium. They said, well, we can't.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a shortage.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that's a benefit of us, is we've got a full operating team.
Yeah. And it's different mining as well. We need to point that out.
Well, it's underground mining. It's the same as what Cominac was doing north of us. So we have a lot of expertise from there. And of course, we've done a broad range recruitment plan in Niger. And we also now are establishing a mining school in Agadez. So we'll be training young people that like to be in the mining space.
Well, you also, I think, benefited from the fact that the French have been thrown out of country, and people like, Iran. Let's be candid. There's a lot of people with a lot of skills.
There are a lot of people with a lot of skills, because Niger was the 5th largest producer, and they've been mining uranium for 50 years.
Right, generational experience.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Okay, so like I say, the fact that this is the only new greenfield site in the world at the moment, it puts you in quite a strong position, because it's clear that you're going to be nearer to producing at the time when people are running out of the stuff. US utilities mooted to have about 2 years worth of inventory across the board, right? Some will have more, some will have less, etc. Europeans maybe slightly more. So for the North American market, which I suspect they'll be looking to you and saying, well, hang on, we're all in it together. We're your neighbors. They are doing what you talked about, the kind of the fact you met the US ambassador in country. Are they siding up to you? Are they making other plans in country? Because it's kind of a very fluid situation at the moment with the government.
No. I think. Well, first of all, Niger is viewed as a good, let's say, central location,
right,
for America to have some sort of foothold in Africa.
Well, they got an army base.
There is a base there.
Right.
But they're very supportive of the project, and they're talking to the government about the fact that, listen, you want to attract foreign investment. Mm-hmm. I mean, you need foreign investment in the country. Here's a big project. We're backing the project.
Right.
You need to back the project. And of course they have. They are backing the project.
Yeah.
From a point of view of, it's business as usual for us there. We've got lots of, 98% of our workforce are all local people.
Yeah.
So, it's a huge employer. And,
business as usual is a good phrase to discuss, because obviously off the back of the coup, it seems so long ago now. And I know I've always been and I've worked in countries when there have been coups. I think it's a sort of, for me, I always kind of view it as a sort of transition of government. Either people,
That's exactly
people
what
have
it is.
spoken, right? And over 80 since the 1950s, it's a thing that happens. I'm not saying it's necessarily good or understood by democratic societies, but the country does carry on.
Country has to carry
right?
on. You've got almost 30 million people there.
Right. So what when you say business as usual, is it carrying on? How has it affected your business?
Well, Right after the coup, we sort of went on a hold mode because all the borders were shut.
Yeah.
So then when they reopened the borders, particularly with Togo and Burkina Faso, that supported Niger, all of the goods now have moved from Cotonou, Benin
Yeah.
to Lomé,
Okay.
Togo, Burkina Faso.
So
Now,
just different routes needed to be established.
different routes.
Okay.
Now the issue there is that it takes longer. So it was a very well established route through Benin and to the port of Cotonou.
Is that border still shut?
The border's still shut. Yes, with Benin,
Right.
because not with Burkina.
They sided with the French.
They sided with the French.
Okay. Holding grudges.
Yeah. So I don't know when that border will reopen. Obviously, that's going to depend on what the internal politics dictate. However, we restarted on the 1st of December, all our operations, and we're in full mining mode there at the moment.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So it always sorts itself out. As Elon Musk says, the molecules move different ways that kind of end up where they need to be. Some are more efficient than others.
I like that, molecules moving.
Right. He's a smart man. Much quoted. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that it is business as usual, taking slightly longer to kind of get stuff to you, but once the process starts, then you're the timelines have adjusted slightly, but you are carrying on with the operational build out.
Yes.
The funding is something that obviously you're thinking about every day, and I think the market is moving in your favor every day as the market gets tighter and tighter, and supply, people are questioning where the heck it comes from. And that you are, as we've always said, the first cab off the rank when it comes to that new production as well. Is there anything else that you guys are sort of wrestling with at the moment, or do you feel a bit more in control now that the coup components over, Turkey's maybe starting to
Well, Turkey,
move again?
of course, last year was a bad year because we had 2 earthquakes and many of the steel mills were shut down. So we probably put through 50% of what we normally would put through.
Yeah.
Q4 and right through till now, we're running full.
Yeah.
So I think most of the mills are back up, maybe not up to 80% capacity yet, but 2024 should be a profitable year in Turkey for us.
Okay.
The biggest issue in Niger that I feel we have to deal with are logistics.
Okay.
Just moving materials when you're building a plant and getting all that stuff on time at the site.
But those are business issues, right? Yeah, I'm comfortable with
Those
that.
are business issues.
That's
and
fine.
those are logistics issues, and we are working those out.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine with that. And, because it's, I know time's money and all of that, but it ain't force majeure, and it ain't people going to war.
No.
They things that are stop businesses in their tracks. This is just we need to reorganize and rethink of the logistics for now, and hopefully things revert back to the original plan because it's slightly more efficient. That's not a problem for me. Into a kind of first mover advantage situation for you guys, which is where we always thought you would be. So it's tough mining, isn't it?
Mining is very tough, and it takes a long time. And I think that's what politicians don't realize is that, they want to green the planet and have all these grandiose ideas.
Yeah.
But how do you get there? And nobody's thought about it.
Yeah.
Like I've been in Niger now almost 20 years.
Yeah.
We discovered Dasa in 2010.
Yeah.
It's now 2024.
Yeah.
We've gone through difficult periods post-Fukushima. We kept the whole thing going.
Well, there's 10 years right there in the back, wasn't it? To
That's
stop
it.
everything for
10 years. But we kept it going
Yeah.
to the point where we are now. So, you know what? We've lived through some pretty rough times here, and I'm not saying it's gotten any easier, but for people out there, they need to realize the investor, the public, just get a sense of reality. It is how long it takes to bring on new production of any metal.
Yeah.
And of course, now there's a requirement for many metals.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to happen.
I like that. And I think people are starting to get that dose of reality, and it's always something that we've strived for people to be real. It's fine being a gold bull or a silver bull or a uranium bull, but there's a reality to doing business, and mining's tough at the best of times, and there's lots of hurdles to get over and lots of fires to put out every single day. But and what we've seen recently, which I think kind of rammed that home, is when you get someone like Kazatomprom who's saying, well, actually, guys, we're going to be about £9 million short of what we thought we were in 2024. Sorry about that. That's the world's number one producer of uranium saying, actually, we're hitting some technical issues here. We've had line of sight to all of this sort of stuff, but there's nothing we can do about it, right? And the same with Cameco as well. They're saying, well, actually, this restart thing, a little bit harder and a little bit longer to do. So goodness only knows what's going to happen with some of these new wannabe producers, especially in Canada, especially in the US, where we're talking 500,000, lots of little £500,000 pieces of production here. And you guys are what, out of the gate?
Four and a half million.
So way more than the whole of the North American production anytime soon. It just kind of shows the context of how much more uranium. I want all the uranium projects to work because we're going to need all of the uranium.
We will.
This is why I've never sided with one company or t'other, but I just recognize, and I hope people recognize, that it's going to take a lot longer than you think.
Yeah, well, the great thing is that the world, I think, has finally adopted nuclear power.
It's great news.
It's definitely, we're into a different era here. I think with small modular reactors, there's hundreds of orders for SMRs now.
Yeah.
There's going to be a decision on which technology will be the lead, and there'll probably be a few companies that are going to be supplying these.
Yeah.
But, it's great that we're going that way to have clean, reliable power.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need fuel. And everybody forgot about the fuel side of the equation.
It's okay. We've solved it. I saw something the other day, which was just brilliant. So it was a kind of a lay-by. Had 2 electric chargers for electric cars. Bring your Tesla here, and a big kind of sea container device where the power came out of. Middle of nowhere, powered by a diesel generator. So right there, folks, that could be your only challenge, I think, in the next few years. These electric charging points powered by diesel fuel, green all the way. I know, it's too funny.
It is funny. It is funny.
What are we doing out there, folks? Just because you call it green doesn't make it green. Nuclear's the way forward. Good to see you, mate. Enjoy yourself the rest of the trip.
Thank you.
You're cracking on. It's good to see.
We're cracking on, and we have first shipments of yellow cake scheduled to go out in Q1 of 2026. Now, we've told the market we're 6 to 12 months delayed. We want to keep onto that schedule.
Yep.
The utilities are on side.
All good.
So we're supposed to start shipping early 26.